So in this video I'm going to show you these two little black lace squares that I made. I started off with the small one, which I love. I just think it's so cute, and I made a few mistakes along the way and figured a few things out. So then when I came to do the bigger one, I had a few more answers and less mistakes. And when I did the second one, you'll see further on in the video, I actually filmed a little section of doing the lace. So if you want to see how it's done, you can watch that. If not, you can just skip past that bit or fast forward it, however you want to watch it. So this is the next lace pattern that I'm planning to make for myself. I don't know yet how much of the process I'll be filming, but I thought it best to be on the safe side and record a little bit before I start, just in case. Hopefully when it's finished it will look like this, although obviously smaller. I'm planning to do it in black, and the bobbins are already wound. Here's all my bobbins wound ready with black thread. And looking at the instructions, it looks like it shouldn't be anything more complicated than the stitches I showed in my beginner video with the whole stitch, half stitch, and some extra twists and things like that. So hopefully it should be fairly straightforward to do. I think for me the most complex bit is going to be, once I've worked around, figuring out how to neatly join the two ends together. And if you saw one of my earlier videos where I bought some bobbins and I filmed unpacking the bobbins, and there was this little tool in there which I didn't know what it was for. I've since discovered that this is actually called a Lazy Susan, and it's used to help with joining threads. It's got a little needle eye at this end, so hopefully I will get to try this out and see how it works. The pattern, I should just have the pattern that I got on the original instructions. There's two different sizes, and then I just saved this image and then printed it off at a larger scale. I'm hoping that the scale will work okay with the thread that I've got, but time will tell on that one. Okay, so that's enough chit chat before I start, and let's get going. So I'm at the halfway point, so I thought I'd video a little update. Hopefully I'm not making you seasick with my wobbly handheld camera. I quickly realised after I started this bigger one that the scale was completely wrong for the skinny thread that I've got. So I'd only done a few rows, and then I gave up on that and I unpicked it, or unweaved it, whatever the appropriate term is for undoing what's been done, and started again with the smaller scale. And I started here, and there was a row of pins further back, and then after you've done the first little piece, you then take those original pins out and then pull the threads down. Unfortunately, while I was pulling the threads down, one of them actually snapped, and I had to add in the bobbins, and I'm really hoping that there's enough weave going on that those threads are not going to come unravelled after it's all off the pillow, but I think it should be fine. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's looking. I don't think I've got this inside edge right by the instructions, but it's good enough for me. My philosophy on life, good enough is good enough. And also the, hang on, let me just get my big pin so I can point out. So these little fan shapes are the half stitch, and these little diamond shapes are the whole stitch. And then where there's the lacy bit in between, this is also half stitch, but it's you do a half stitch, then you put a pin, and then you do another half stitch, which is how you get the holy lacy look. But maybe tomorrow in the daylight. It's quite late in the evening now, so I think I will probably stop shortly for today, and then maybe in the daylight tomorrow I might try and film actually doing some of the work so you can see what's happening. Okay, see you tomorrow. Okay, so I finished this little black lace square that I was working on, and I did actually film part of it, but I've decided not to include that in this video, because as I was going along I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing this bit right, or I'm not sure how this is supposed to be, and there were bits I was just sort of making up as I went along. And as I think I mentioned already, I knew that the foot side was wrong. You can see this is supposed to be a much firmer edge on the inside of the square, and this on its own, you know, I think it looks okay, but I'm aware that it's not correct. So I didn't want to waste your time with showing you me doing it wrong. I've not got a problem with showing my mistakes or talking about mistakes or admitting that I don't know how to do things, but there was 25 minutes of footage where it was mostly me saying, I don't know if I'm doing this right. So I thought I'd spare you that. And then also at the end, I used the Lazy Susan to join on this last corner. It's not the neatest of joins, but it's the first time I've done this, so I'm pretty happy with how that's come out. I didn't even bother filming myself doing that because it was the first time of using the Lazy Susan, and I was kind of figuring it out as I went along, and all you would have seen was my hands. I was all fingers and thumbs, like you wouldn't have seen what was going on anyway. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description below to the video which I watched to learn how to use it. And then I went against my normal pattern of doing things, because normally I would think, okay, I've done that now, what's next? Whereas this time I thought, no, there are things that I still need to get right on this, so I'm going to do the same again. But instead of doing the exact same again, I wanted to do it bigger. And obviously I couldn't just scale up the pattern, because I know from when I started that the bigger scale pattern doesn't work with this thin thread. So what I actually did was multiple copies of this pattern at the same scale, and then I cut it apart so that when I rejoined the pattern back together I could add in extra sections on each side. So on this original one there are 5 fans on each side, and then on my new bigger pattern there are 8 fans on each side. So let me show you that. Okay, so this is the bigger version of the pattern, which has 8 fans on each side. I've already done 3 sides, and this I've just got a piece of fabric just covering up that first side, because there are still pins in the start positions just to hold it in place. So having this piece of fabric across just protects the threads from catching on those pins. Okay, so we'll just do a quick little demonstration just of the fan, the diamond, and the little piece of ground at the edge. Hopefully you can see here that I've corrected the foot side edge. So here it was just kind of a little bit wiggly and just a single line along the edge, whereas here we've got a double line around the edge, which you'll probably see more clearly when I actually finish and I can take it off the pattern and show you properly. And then you can see the difference in scale. So the original one I did kind of actually fits inside the new one. Okay, so I'll give you a little demonstration on what I'm going to be doing here. Let me just move some bobbins aside a second so you can perhaps see the pattern a bit clearer. Okay, Okay, so we've got the fan on the edge, and the fan is worked in half stitch, and then as you go along getting wider, at each pin along the side you bring in an extra pair from the side to join on to the side of the fan, and then when you're coming back down this side you need to like let go of a pair at each pin, so that you've then got pairs ready to start the diamond. And then again, when you come to the diamond, you're adding pairs in from both sides as it gets wider, and then letting pairs go from each side as it gets narrower again. And the diamond is worked in hole stitch or cloth stitch. And then the little section here at the side, it's worked in the half stitch ground, where you do a half stitch, then you put a pin, then you do another half stitch. But of course this is also where the foot side is, which has more back and forth, more cross and twists to get that firmer edge on the inside. So you don't see much demonstration of the half stitch ground, but I'll just go through those three so you can see it in action. Okay, so we're ready to start with the fan, and we'll just move these bobbins aside for now because we don't need those yet. Okay, so to start with, we've just got the first two pairs which come off either side of the top pin of the fan, and then we've got our first pair ready to come in from the side. So we'll just do our half stitch. Oops, my bobbins are rolling all over the place on the pillow. I don't normally do it flat on the table. I've normally got it at an angle on my lap with a tray, so I apologise for my wayward bobbins. They're not normally rolling around this much. And then we'll go back the half stitch, and then in this pattern what I've been doing is at the end of each row back and forth in the fan and in the diamond, I've been putting an extra twist on the end pair. So I won't mention that each time I go back and forth, but you'll see that's what I'm doing. And then when I go back this way, I'm going to be bringing in another additional pair from the side. So it's just cross and twist each time. And then obviously, as I just mentioned, my extra twist on the end. Back the other way. And then again, when I come back, I'm going to be at the widest point of the fan, so I'll be adding in another extra pair. Okay, so that's the last extra pair I'm adding for the fan, because that's the widest point. Oops. Oh, annoying rolling bobbins. Okay, so when I come back this time, this end pair is going to be left out because we're now at the point of getting narrower again. And again, when we come back to the point, the pair that's around that last pin on this side will be left out again. Okay, just one more pin to do on the fan, which is now at the very narrow point. So this pair that was off of that previous pin is left out, and we just do our half stitch, pin, and then I also just do another half stitch just so there's a nice firm edge for ready when we're starting the next fan in the next pass through. Okay, so now we've done the fan, we're coming across to the diamond. So we want to move some more pairs out of the way, and then here we've got these two pairs which are going to form that very top point of the diamond, and now we're working in cloth stitch, which is cross, twist, cross. Pop a pin in between at the very top point. Oops. And then we're working down the side of the diamond, so we want to bring in an extra pair. Oops. And that's the midpoint down the side of the diamond. And we'll go back the other way. Cross, twist, cross. And we want to bring in another pair from this side now. So we're halfway down the other side of the diamond. When we come back the other way, we're adding in another pair to the widest point of the diamond. Okay, back the other way. And again, we want to add in another pair for the widest point of the diamond. Now when we're coming back this way, we're leaving out this end pair. Oops. Now that's the halfway point coming back in on the diamond. And this time we don't do that end pair there because we're coming narrower. This is the bit where when I did the filming of it, when I did the smaller version, I was getting all in a muddle of which pairs I was adding in and which pairs I was leaving out. And I was doing quite a lot of chat as I was going, and I think I was probably distracting myself. Okay. So that's the bottom point done of the diamond, and then we'll just finish it off with one last stitch just around the bottom of the pin. Okay, now we're ready to do the ground and the foot side. Just make some more room. Okay, the half stitch ground is actually probably my favourite thing to do, but there's not much of it in this because the foot side happens in the same sort of small area. So we start off with doing the foot side in this end space. So how we're doing that is with the last 3 pairs I'm doing what I believe is called cloth stitch and twist. So it's cross, twist, cross, twist. So it's 4 moves, and then again here, cross, twist, cross, twist, and then an extra twist on the end. And then here, instead of putting the pin between the last 2 pairs, we put it in between, so there's 2 pairs to the right of the pin. And then this is the bit which I'd missed when I did it wrong before, is we just discard that end pair and then do another cross, twist, cross, twist. And then we've got quite a bunch of what looks like tangled threads there, so I just tighten those up. Okay, so now we're ready to do the first point of the normal half stitch ground. So this is where we just do cross, twist, we put a pin between the 2 pairs in the hole, and then we do another cross, twist. But now we're straight away at the foot side again. So we're doing our cross, twist, cross, twist, cross, twist, cross, twist, extra twist on the end. Put the pin before the last 2 pairs, and then another cross, twist, cross, twist, and then just tidy up those threads. Okay, now we're back to the normal ground. So it's the half stitch, pin, half stitch, and then we've got half stitch, pin, half stitch, and then our final bit of foot side to complete the pattern. Okay, so there we go. So that was the half stitch fan, the whole stitch or cloth stitch diamond, and then the ground and the foot side, which gives the two lines. So then we just move all our bobbins back again, and then we're ready to do the next fan. So it just goes along in that pattern. So just working diagonally, fan, diamond, ground, fan, diamond, ground, and then when you get down to the bottom, when you reach that last corner, we've then just got fan, diamond, and then an extra fan, and then joining back on. On this particular one, again, I'm not going to show you joining the ends together, because when I started this one, I was using the thread that was still left on the bobbins from when I did the small one. And of course, when I'd finished the small one and I just cut the bobbins off, of course they're not linked together in pairs then. So I just tied the 2 ends of the threads on a pair of bobbins together. So at the start, there's lots of loose threads, which you wouldn't normally have. You'd normally make sure that you've got a neat beginning with the 2 bobbins linked together on one thread and not tied together in a knot to begin with. So it's going to be a little bit messy, my start finish end, but I just didn't want to waste the extra thread that was already wound on the bobbins. So there you go, that's how it's done, and I will just carry on and finish and show you the two squares side by side at the end to compare the small one and the large one, and have a good look at the difference in the foot side, because that's the main thing that I've done differently with this one is getting that foot side correct. So here's the finished lace square, and I'm really pleased mostly with how it's turned out, and I definitely think it was the right decision to show you the process of how I did that one and not include the bit that I'd done on the first square, because I was just more confident doing it the second time round, and you know, less mistakes. I was just more confident with getting the foot side right and when to add in and leave out the pairs, so it was just a much smoother process the second time. The only thing I'm not so happy about with this one is the end corner. I don't know if you can see that. I knew that the corner was going to be rough because of how I started with the bobbins that already had the cut threads, so it was like loose ends to start with. So I wish I'd put a bit more forethought into doing a neater start so that then I could have a neater finish as well. But I think when I use the square, I'm planning to stick it in a book, and I'll just put like a little black bow just to cover the join so it's not obvious. And on the subject of how I'm going to use these squares, I've had a long-term project like in my mind and I keep thinking of different things I want to add, and I'm just gradually building a collection of little items that I can put together for the final product. And without going into too much detail, my plan is to make basically a Victorian scrapbook, and the little lace squares will be used on pages where the lady, I'm not going to tell you who she is yet, where she makes a note of somebody who's died. So it's like black lace for mourning, and obviously the small one would be for somebody who, you know, it's still a loss, but it's not a big loss in her life, whereas the bigger one will be for somebody that she cares about much more, and it's a bigger loss, so it's, you know, it's a bigger demonstration of grief really. And then I'd also mentioned earlier about the fact that to do the bigger lace square, I'd done multiple copies of the small one and then cut it apart and restuck it together. And I didn't want to draw on the front of this because I might want to reuse it again, but I just thought I'd mark on the back just so you can see the different parts where I've cut out from here and then restuck back together. That might be of help to some of you if you want to increase the length or the size of a pattern without increasing the scale. So yeah, that's how I did that, my Frankenstein pattern. So if you've ever tried lace making, or if you think you'd like to give it a go, I'd be interested to know, you know, maybe you're just watching this out of curiosity, maybe you're watching it for ideas, I don't know, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the lace videos, because I'm aware that it's a little bit more of a niche subject, and perhaps not so many of you interested in that, but I'd like to know what you think. Alright, thanks for persevering through my video, and I'll see you again next time, hopefully.